Thank you so much, Sunny. It's really wonderful. Your levity is really appreciated. I had the privilege of getting to be involved in 2 groups, so I'm just going to briefly set the stage for my colleagues who will carry on. And my goal here was to convince you all that restoration in the Cortez and Greater Four Corners region is difficult, but our problem solvers in the audience have already made that abundantly clear, that this land is dry and it is hard to put it back together once it's been disturbed. I know this because I was involved in a restoration project, and so we really wanted a beautiful soil surface, and after 2 years, this is what we got. And so it's very difficult to restore these places, but it's not impossible. And we saw the lack of successful restoration even with average size precipitation and doing soil stabilization work. And so, this begs the question, what is limiting recovery? And the answer is lots of things. Water is, of course, the dominant factor in limiting recovery in these systems, but there are other components of the system that get changed when degradation happens that we need to be thinking about to put it back together and to offer real solutions for land that is really impacted in this area. And so just very briefly, and also I'm so inspired by the San Luis Valley. So the revegetation handbook and all of that wonderfulness just ties in really beautifully to everything we're going to be talking about. But so when you have an intact dryland, an intact rangeland in this region, you have all of these components. You have plants growing healthy above ground. You have all of this below ground biomass, all of these roots. We heard about the microbial community. You're going to hear amazing things about fungal partners. It's been talked about a little bit, but we also have this biological soil crust layer that exists in this region. That's this community of microorganisms and lichens and mosses that exist right at the soil surface in between plants in the Four Corners area. They are essential soil stabilizers. So you have all of this together on land, in rangelands and in drylands and in these places. When you get some kind of large-scale disturbance or the land has been degraded, you don't just get blowing dust, you get all of these knock-on effects, right? You have less plant above ground, less plant below ground. Your microbial community is diminished. You've lost your biocrust. You get blowing dust, moving soil, and you get a landscape that is difficult to restore. But restorationists are inherently optimists. And so there are lots of different tools that exist that we can be thinking about on land that we can all be working together to try to enact in some of these places. And I want to very clearly acknowledge that a lot of these ideas have been practiced by indigenous communities in this area for a very long time. And so these are not new ideas. It's the working together and working across community that will allow for the enaction of these practices to restore land. And so inoculating and transplanting with our cool mycorrhizal fungi that we're going to hear about, thinking about specific plants, thinking about not just all of it, thinking about what they can provide to community, and then also the specific traits of plants that might make them more able to grow in these difficult to grow places. Adding soil organic matter, I love the idea. Collecting soil from a mountaintop and bringing it to the desert is a way to add soil organic matter back into the soil. These are all practices. Biocrust rehabilitation, something that is kind of a newer idea, people actively trying to grow biological soil crust in greenhouses and put it back onto the soil. These are all solutions that have worked in various places. And then modifying the connectivity. So the connectivity is this idea that when bare areas of land become connected, it increases erosion and soil resources are shuffled out of the landscape through the wind, right? There's this increased connected pathways of resource loss. So can we modify connectivity, mods, through intentional structures? People have been doing this for a very long time. Inserting vertical structures, wind fences, these are all things that we've been doing, but can we think about them at a landscape scale to restore the different functions that we really want within the landscape. And so we're going to be, the rest of the presentation is going to be talking about ideas both on the ground and in community to make all of these things happen. So I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say.